Joining us for more on the immigrant workers here on the Suncoast is Sarah Blackwell, CEO and attorney for Protect U.S. Workers Now, Manuel Chipote, a volunteer on the steering committee for the nonprofit group Unidos, and Dr. Rich Swire, a citizen journalist and publisher. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, because this is such a central theme in our presidential campaign. You not only hear from Donald Trump, you hear from a lot of the people going to those rallies. And what strikes me when I hear these conversations is that when you talk about some work, whether it's here or anywhere around the country, whether it's landscaping, construction, works at the car wash or construction industry, those are jobs that many Americans simply will not do.
I'm not sure that's true, but I think that what my big concern is that, and you talked about it in one of your previous segments, we have these illegals working in farms, we have them working in lawns on people, in condominium areas and so on. My big concern is that we're seeing a real clear and present danger. There's diseases that are being brought across the border and into Florida and into the nation that we haven't seen, biblical
Right.
kinds of diseases.
You're saying
so
immigrants
that affects
diseased?
the labor force, because now you have people who are preparing food, who are working in the hospitality industry, who are working in hotels, who are bringing diseases, and I mean tuberculosis. I mean, we're talking about leprosy, hepatitis A, B, and C.
Sarah.
As for your question on Americans that won't do the jobs, I think that the issue is Americans won't do the jobs at the slave labor costs that they are paying the illegal immigrants. So if you have a job, plumbing, farming, any of those types of jobs, lawn care, if you pay them a proper wage and treat them with respect, then you're going to have more Americans that are willing to do the job. But when an American or someone who has a work permit is competing against illegal immigrants, the illegal immigrants are too afraid usually to stand up for themselves. So they're getting mistreated, you're not paying workers' comp for them, you're not paying all these benefits for them, you're not paying minimum wage, or you're not paying overtime. Generally, they're being mistreated. So now we have Americans who are coming in, and they're not going to take that. They're saying, no, I have rights as an American citizen. So I think you could get more Americans to do these jobs if you prove to them you would treat them with respect.
And I want to get into more of the economic factors in our next segment. But Manuel, when we're talking about certain sectors of the employment force around here, when we're talking about landscaping or the construction industry or the service industry, I mean, those are the industries, correct me if I'm wrong, where some people, they do have their papers, they have their green cards, some do not.
That's correct. I want to touch the point that was brought about farm labor. Farm labor was advertising nationwide to get workers, American workers, to come and replace the labor that was imported, or the illegals or the immigrants, undocumented, and they couldn't get anyone to apply for those jobs, because that job is not an easy job. It's in the hot weather in California.
We had Adam Cellini go out and pick tomatoes a couple of months ago, and
they
it took him a couple of days to stand up straight again.
It's a very hard work, and these people comes here because that's the only opportunities given. They are not highly trained, highly skilled, so they take those jobs that Americans in general don't want.
I find it that objectionable. When you say an American won't work, I agree with what was said about if you pay them a fair price for labor, if you give them the benefits they deserve and the respect they deserve. I mean, that's about as racist as I can talk. You can say, you're telling an American worker who built this nation that they don't want work? Of course they want to work, but they want to work for a fair wage. They want to work in a job that they're going to get the kind of benefits and respect. And they don't mind working hard. They don't mind. I picked strawberries when I was going through college.
Rich, I remember a couple of years ago, I interviewed the guy who owned a chain of car washes.
Sure.
Says he can't get his teenage kid to work there.
Well, he's not paying a high enough wage.
He can't get people to work in this and make a profit.
He's not paying a high enough wage. He's not paying a high enough wage, not offering the benefits, and not offering the opportunities to people. There are people that work in car washes all over this nation He's just not, that particular person is not paying the right price.
I think, if you don't mind me interjecting, but as far as racism is concerned, I deal mostly with legal immigration and offshoring of jobs, and I think it's the same in this situation when we are allowing illegal immigrants to stay in the U.S. but saying you can't work. We're putting them in a situation that's a very hard quandary,
Right.
where we are treating them like second-class citizens. And so when you're talking about Americans won't do the job, only certain types of people will do these jobs for this wage, I think we need to look at making sure that we're treating anybody that's a human being with the rights and the respect of a human being.
Obviously, we have a lot more to discuss, but first we need to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're also going to have our Suncoast forecast, so stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we're discussing the role of immigrants and day laborers here on the Suncoast, and we are joined by Manuel Chipote, a volunteer on the steering committee for the nonprofit group Unidos Now, and Dr. Rich Swire, a citizen journalist, and I don't want to leave you out, Sarah. I'm sorry about that. But Manuel, let me start with you because, obviously some of the opinions Rich is expressing is something that you hear right out of the mouth every time you've go to a Trump rally. There are a lot of people out there who have that opinion. And when you hear it, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that how can 11 million people undocumented in this country create the chaos in the economy? This is a 300+ million economy, individuals that live in this country. How this small group at the lowest level in our economy can bring down the largest economy in the world? This is just blaming into a small group of individuals the maladies that are around in the country.
That's true, but we're still trying to dig our way out of what was a near depression and where employment has, the unemployment rate has gone down substantially. There are a lot of people who are not making what they were before.
I understand, but we cannot blame on this 11 million people that they brought all these maladies and they are the cause of this, because this is the wrong way to process.
Well, look, the state of Florida, in order to educate, medicate, and incarcerate illegals, the cost annually is about $5 billion.
Well, they were also incarcerating a lot of legal residents.
But I'm just saying, $5 billion that we in the state of Florida would not have to be paying.
I want to ask you,
and we have a growing threat.
Right, hold on, Rich.
In turning of
Hold
medication.
on.
Yes.
I want to ask you this
Sure.
because your argument previously was, well, listen, if these employers only paid a wage that Americans can live on, we would not have that problem, correct?
Of course.
All right. So what about raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour?
No, you don't need. What you do is the
because
market.
I'm sorry, hold on one second.
The market is driven.
Hold
the
on,
market,
because I often hear the argument against raising the minimum wage is that it raises the cost of products, and we don't want to do that.
The way you create a job is to make a profit. If you can't make a profit, you're not going to create a job. That's the only thing that creates a job. Governments don't create jobs. Illegals don't create jobs. Legals don't create jobs. It's a individual business that makes a profit, and because they make enough profit and they have enough volume, they hire somebody.
So hold on one second. So let's say it costs you $70 a month to hire a service to cut your lawn. What happens when that goes up to $140 a month?
Then people pay it. You have to, if you want your lawn cut, you have to make a decision. It's just like anything. If I want to build a car, or if I want to pick oranges, I have to make a decision. What am I willing to pay, and what are people willing to pay for those oranges?
So let's say you want to take your wife out to dinner downtown. Great restaurants downtown Sarasota. It costs you $100.
Sure.
What happens if it costs you $200?
Well, then I'll pay the $200.
Can I make a comment here? I'm from Louisiana, where we had plantations and slaves, and if you asked any of them, would you rather pay a slave and have your products less, or hire people legitimately and pay more? Of course they're going to say less, but it's not humane. It's not okay. I think to the people and the entities that are to blame is the government that is allowing illegals to stay but not allowing them to work, and the employers that are hiring them, because I'm an employment lawyer at USF, employment professor at USF, and I do employment law. You have to file a Form I-9 for every single employee, even if they work 1 hour. You have to pay wages that are a certain amount. You have to keep up with time records. You have to pay workers' comp insurance. The employers that are hiring illegals are violating laws. So right off the bat, these employers are not the most legitimate employers that are abiding by all the laws. So if they're not legitimate employers already, do you think that they're going to treat the illegals with the humane and in the respect that they deserve? Probably not. They're already shady.
Manuel, what happens right now when somebody who is undocumented, who's working either for a local construction company or landscape or whatever, they get hurt on the job? Do they have unemployment compensation like the rest of us?
I don't think they can apply through the workers' compensation. I don't think they qualify for that because they are undocumented. Right. So I guess the family takes care of them. I have seen cases of people that have been injured in agriculture, and they have taken back to their countries because the costs here of maintaining this person in the hospitals were excessive.
Rich, what would you do with the owner of the landscape company or the construction company or the restaurant or the farmer who is caught not paying workers' comp, not paying state taxes, federal taxes?
Well, first of all, look, Congress, the United States Congress, we have a wall. We have a wall already built. It's called a legal wall. The legal wall says, here's what it is to be a citizen. Here's the process you go through to be a citizen. And once you're naturalized as a citizen, here's your responsibilities. There are people that are bypassing that laws, and Congress and this administration and previous administration, I don't want to just pick on this administration, but previous administrations have looked the other way. Why? Because the big money, the chambers of commerce, Chobani, the big businesses, they want cheap slave labor. They don't want to pay but they're going to make a huge profit. You can't do that and be a human being, as was mentioned, if you're inhumane. You're literally running a plantation. Chobani is literally running a plantation.
So Sarah, let me ask you, if there was legislation that would result in criminal penalties and jail terms for companies that hire and they were enforced, I mean, what would happen to our community?
I think then all of the illegal immigrants would be here and not be able to work. And I think that if you're going to allow them to stay, you have to make a way for them to have the ability to work. If you criminalize all the employers that are shady, okay, we need to do that because we need to have Americans be able to compete, and it needs to be done in a way that not criminalize the employer. If you're going to let the illegals stay, you give them a right to work. And then that levels out the playing field because now they can compete against an American. And now they get the rights of workers' comp and all of that. If not, then I say kick them out of the country if that's what you're going to do. But you can't set up a system where you're like, you're illegal, but you can't work.
But, you know, a couple of weeks ago, you know, Donald Trump was kind of put into Donald Trump putting his feet into the fire. Geez, it happens every single day. But there was the issue about the deportation of 11 million undocumented. Sure. Manuel, when people in the community hear a man who may well become president of the United States talk about that, what's their reaction?
What we think is the cost of doing that, it will be so great, not only to America, but to them too. Because they have families, they have established community, they have bought houses, paid taxes. The Social Security has, as of 2006, $5 billion of money that cannot be matched. It's money that is sitting there without taking care of the interest that generated.
Well,
the taxes are paid. Can you let me finish, please?
Please, go ahead.
Every time you go to shop for a clothes or for anything that you shop for, you're paying taxes. So is saying that the immigrants undocumented do not pay taxes, that's not real. And they are permanently here in Florida. It's not like the snowbirds that they come and they stay for a short period of time and they go back. the undocumented immigrants that live in our communities stay permanently here, contributing for the taxes, contributing for those businesses to flourish, and to criminalize or
Well, let me-
denigrate
hold on. I don't
them.
want to see this undocumented.
Hold on
Look,
one second.
but-
We have less than 45 seconds left.
All right.
So if you want to make a point, make it
The-
15
let's
seconds
talk
and let me go to
about
the break.
illegal aliens because it's not undocumented immigrants. The legal term by Congress is illegal aliens. We have people who have broken our laws and come in here. They are benefiting from our society. They may be contributing a little bit, but they're taking a lot more.
Okay.
No,
Very
that
good.
is
Hold
not certain.
Hold on one second. We're going to continue the discussion, but we have to take a quick break. And when we return, we'll have final thoughts and comments from our viewers. Stay with us. Welcome back. We are discussing the role of immigrant labor on our Suncoast workforce, and our panel joins us for final thoughts. Manuel, you know, I once did a story about the cost to the healthcare industry, how much local hospitals, and many of them break it down line item in terms of how much they have to pay when people come into the ER that don't have health insurance, including undocumented men and women. There is a substantial cost to taxpayers.
Correctly. There is the myth that immigrants come here to take welfare, and they live out of the welfare. Let me just point some figures, and I need to go over my notes here. The estimate of immigrants are earning $240 billion a year, pay about $90 billion a year in taxes, and they use $5 billion in public benefits. So the money that they contribute to the economy and what they pay in taxes is much higher than what they are using in the services if they need to go to a
Sarah,
hospital.
what would you think would happen if all of a sudden we basically beam them all up? I mean, if we did that Friday night in Sarasota, Saturday when a lot of landscaping is done, what impact would it have on our community here?
I would never support anything like that. I think we need to build the wall. I think we need a system of tracking the visa holders, visiting visas, working visas, and then I think we need to take care of the people here because we've gotten ourselves into this situation because of greed, because people don't want to pay the right wages. I mean, this is years upon years of a problem that hasn't been fixed. And so I don't think we just say, oh, okay, now we want to throw them all out. I think we take care of the ones that are here. We build a wall.
Well,
And Rich, we have less than a minute left, but I want to give you the last word.
You brought up the emergency room costs. I initially brought up the idea of these diseases coming in.
Yeah.
Let's talk about TB. Just regular TB costs $20,000 to treat a TB case.
Rich, we
got
have Zika coming in,
If you got
And a
Zika,
mosquito.
and that's another one. Where'd that come from?
Mosquito is
South
not
America. Where did
legally
Zika
in
come
the
from?
US.
South America.
I hope you're not suggesting that illegal
Yeah.
immigrants brought Zika
Zika.
into
I
our
am
country.
suggesting that we have diseases coming into the United States we have not seen here. We're talking nearly
I don't-
$500,000. to
And I
treat
don't think
a
you could
tuberculin-
possibly
a
cite any
tuberculin,
scientific evidence that
absolutely.
it's because of...
These are literally
Right.
bioterrorists coming
All right.
across our border.
Thank you so much for joining us. But before we go, we want to share with our viewers what some people are saying about last night's show. Our topic was millennials, something not controversial, and why so many of them are leaving the Suncoast. We asked you what you thought could be done about retaining more of our younger residents, and here is what you had to say. Tim Haslett writes, SRQ needs to treat them and appreciate them as much as they do the seniors. Affordable housing, yeah, that means you, Benderson. Jobs and other services, start crushing every event that is for them because the seniors are inconvenienced. God forbid. Patty O'Brien, Paulie writes, because of the older people don't allow anything to happen in Sarasota. It has become such a sleepy town over the 21 years, except for tonight. There used to be more venues to go to, but not anymore. And Crystal Rojar writes, there are very few jobs for college graduates. Pay is very low compared to the cities, and the houses are very expensive comparably. I just paid twice for a house what I pay in Jacksonville, and the pay here is significantly less. If you'd like to join the conversation about tonight's topic, and I bet a couple of you might, just go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/news@7. I want to thank our guests for being here tonight. Sarah Blackwell, CEO and attorney for Protect U.S. Workers Now. Manuel Chapate is with the nonprofit group Unite Us Now, and Dr. Rich Swire is a citizen journalist and publisher. We'll be bringing you our last check on our weather plus our primetime headlines when we come back.